Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel. I am starting this channel to give my own insights into dungeons and high-end content for World of Warcraft. Now, I know I'm a bit late to the train, especially for this season, but I thought I'd start off with explaining specific tactics that you can use and little tips and tricks here and there for the dungeons that will be going to Season 4 from Season 3. So for that, we're going to start off with Tazavesh Streets today for my first video. And then later on we'll go into Gambit, and then any other dungeons you guys want to see later down the line, please let me know in the comment section below. But for now, Streets and Gambit will be the only dungeons going from Season 3 heading into Season 4. So now is a good time to explain the different things that you can do to make your life easier in these dungeons. We're going to be starting to look at streets that I did a few days ago with my group. We're doing a 26 streets at the moment, so this is not something that is going to be accessible to everyone, but the ideals behind it and the tactics that you can use to make your life easier during the run will be usable. So we'll start off with some commentary on what we do to make things a bit easier, but this run was not clean by any means. So if you have any questions later on down the track, please make sure you comment it in the comment section. And we'll get started with our 26 streets. Now, there are two different routes you can take from streets. You can go the right side or you can go the left side. So with the 26 right now, we are going to choose to go right. Now, this has only recently been an option, since in previous patches during the season, right side has been quite difficult for tanks to deal with, since the mobs did quite a lot of damage to you. They have since been nerfed quite heavily, so right side is quite beneficial in terms of pulling big and utilizing the group comps that are prevalent nowadays with a Destro Warlock and a Survival Hunter. So let's have a look at what we do here. So we're starting with the pull timer now, getting ready for the key. Now, we did, just before this, we just failed at 27 streets. The first boss didn't really like me very well, and we were overwhelmed with how much damage the abilities from the first boss actually did. So this is a tyrannical week, by the way. This is just the week prior to when this video is being posted. So we're starting off with pulling the mobs into this corner here. Now, the reason why you pull these mobs into this corner is, if you can see where I'm positioning myself, if these mobs were a little bit higher up, it's probably a bit easier for the DPS and the healer to LOS the blast that comes out from this main mob here in the middle. But what the point of this movement is for me and the mobs to be around this area, and for the DPS and healer to be over on this side when the explosion goes off. What that's going to do is it's going to line of sight the explosion so people don't take damage. Now, on a fortified week, this is really essential on a higher key, because the ticking damage that comes from it is quite substantial. As you can see, another ability that's coming out is one of these white swirls that you can see on the ground. Now, this is a ability that will most likely one-shot you if you stand in it, so you really want to make sure you're not standing in it. Obviously, it is increased by fortified, so on tyrannical, we do have a situation where one of our players do stand in it, and you'll see it later down the line how much damage it actually does. So we go from here, hard light bolts coming out. So this is the ability you're looking out for, Radiant Pulse. So this one going off, you can see everyone's starting to move onto the side here. Our healer is still here, not getting there in time. Hopefully he does. Let's have a look. So no, he just takes it. He takes the brunt. So we've got Yowza, our monk, who's right in the corner here. Now, our warlock was a little bit eager, came out a little bit too quick, and our healer was here. I think they were just testing how much damage it actually did, just to see, because we don't end up getting to play as much as we would like. So everyone else is kind of doing okay. The damage is quite substantial, but it is tyrannical, so it's okay to deal with. As we kill these mobs, got another swirl coming in, have to move away from that. And they slowly die. Unfortunately, we do get a second stack of Radiant Pulse, but we have a few people. Our healer and our monk did avoid that damage. Our hunter and our warlock got hit by that. So over here, as you can see, I pull the officer with my death grip because this specific mob doesn't walk in. It only walks in after you've interrupted it. So gripping it first allows everything to kind of be in position straight away for burst damage from the DPS. You don't have to worry about something being outside just free casting. So we grip it inside, the security guard will come in, everything will come along, and we start the pull from there. Nothing too important in this pull, besides the fact that you need to interrupt status beam, which are going to be from the interrogation specialists, which is a channeled stun. So you want to make sure that never goes off. You've got spark burns and hyperlights, hyperlight bolts going off. Not too important, honestly. They don't really hurt. You don't really feel it as a tank, so still interrupted, obviously. But if you're going to be choosing something to interrupt that is essential, that would be your status beam. So we want to dodge there. We're going to keep picking up and just try to bulldoze through these mobs. As soon as one dies, I'm waiting for this pat to come in while I'm killing this. As soon as that pack comes in, I'm going to be chain pulling onto this pack right here. Now, same thing, same issues occur here. So we've got hyperlight bolts, spark burns, and status beams coming off. Now, here we have two overseers. The overseer is going to be placing that swirly beam that goes around clockwise here, which you need to dodge. Otherwise, you're going to get a dot that stacks the longer you stay in it, which is called beam splicer. So my positioning is a little weird here, but I'm trying to make sure that everything's staying in rain of fire, which is what you want to be doing if you're running a Destro lock. Rain of fire is just going to carry your team at the moment since how broken they are. So you want to make sure you're standing, keeping the mobs as still as possible, so rain of fire can do maximum damage. And we pull straight into this. We're going to get again. Is going to spawn, and now I'm going to make sure that dies. And as soon as dies, I'm going to be pulling the mini boss, that is not the boss on the right hand side, that's the mini boss. Don't forget that. Now the reason why is it does the AoE just as the first mob in the instance did, which does a lot of ticking damage, and using you can utilize the healing healing over time that it does to provide you with to negate the entire dot. So you can just go straight into it without having to get your team to LOS the initial dot. So as soon as that's done, I pull this Radiant Pulse, smacks everyone, but the healing will just negate that entirely. Now Rift Blast here, you're just going to need to dodge these, which are just beams. Now that empowered ability just there is very important. Very, very important that you kick that empowered ability. Otherwise that is going to be a lot of unnecessary damage that your healer needs to heal. It is a very quick cast though, so be wary, have someone on that. That's about it. Everything else you don't really need to kick, but it's just, you might as well kick it if you've got nothing else to kick, right? Okay, we got Radiant Pulse coming out again. Rift Blast is still going off. And you pretty much just want to follow where the tank's going on this one. Now I do have a habit of just WASDing my keyboard just constantly for no reason. So I'm kind of just stutter stepping everywhere. It's a little bit of a bad habit for me, but I need to probably start not doing that. Here we're just going to glance through the boss fights for these ones because they're pretty straightforward. They just have their basic abilities and it just repeats itself throughout the fight. So we'll go through the basic abilities. So we're going to get here. Now as you can see, right on top of the boss, you've got a spinning blade and you've got a spinning blade on the bottom left here. Now, those ones, obviously, they're on the ground, they're spinning blades, they're bad for you, don't stand in them, otherwise you're going to take damage. Plain and simple. Now, we've got this shield as well. Now, as a tank, you want to try and move the boss in a way that the shield doesn't face the ranged DPS, but for some reason, whenever I try to do that, I don't know if you guys have any idea, you can put it in the comment section below. I try to move this boss as much as possible, and for some reason the shield just doesn't move with it. It just continuously goes counterclockwise, and doesn't adjust depending on where I face the boss. It'll just keep going the way it's going. So, I don't know if someone else has done that successfully, but I've been told it can be done, so I just want to see if it can be. I've attempted it though, but it doesn't work for me. So when it goes fully armed, that really starts hurting. Really starts hurting the tank. And you want to make sure you have your defensives going. And always making sure as a DK having your parry chance going. So if you saw that just then, I don't know if you guys saw that. So as we go here, we've got interrogation. Now our interrogation is casting, and it's targeting a hunter. Now with interrogation, there are a bunch of classes that can avoid this mechanic completely. Interrogation is technically a stun. So anything that you can break out of a stun, you can use it before it goes off in order to completely negate the ability. So in this case, we have a hunter use turtle and then cancel aura to continue and completely negate the ability. Paladins can use bubble, and I'm sure DKs can use IBF. Obviously, I'm a tank, so it doesn't affect me, but I'm sure Frost DKs can use Icebound Fortitude to stop the stun from happening. And then it completely negates it. Other classes will be able to do that as well. So as you can see here, interrogation, turtle, removes it, removes his turtle, continues fighting. Perfect. Now, armed security. That is just the tank buster. Pretty sure armed security is the tank buster story, not the fully armed. That'll be different. Now, periodically through the fight, as a tank, I don't have to deal with this ability, but DPS will have to, or the others will have to. I'm not sure if it affects healers, but they will remove one of the party members' weapons. Now, the weapon will be on the ground, it'll be glowing, you will have to find your weapon and pick it up straight away, otherwise you won't be able to do damage, because it technically disarms you, just like in PvP. You won't be able to do anything. Now, the containment cells come out. This has been buffed substantially since the start of when this dungeon came out. So everybody needs to swap to it. If this boss gets to the cell, that man dies. He will die. Now, you don't want to be in front of the boss either while this is happening. Otherwise, you will get one shot as well. So you need to make sure you're going onto the cell, but not running directly in front of the boss to get to the cell. That's a very important thing to remember. Now, besides that, that's pretty much the boss. There's nothing really else to it. So as we're going through, let's continue going through and let's see what happens. So the boss is about to die, the boss is dead. Okay, done. Perfect. Now here, what we're doing, same thing as before on my second pull. We're gripping the specialist in because it doesn't run in by itself. It needs to be interrupted before it does. So grip the specialist to start the pull nice and quick. I'm going to grab everything, and here we're going to go with woe, because we want to skip as much as possible later on. Now, to add a bit more percentage into this pull, I'll be pulling an overseer on my left, just one, not two. So this route is a direct route from the Echo boys, so Now and Gingy, Mirez, all them. So props to them for this route. This is an exceptional route, and it's a really, really clean run. I'm pretty sure it's 100% exactly. And I think I screw up a pull here somewhere down the end. I think I pull one mob extra that I thought I would need, but I don't. And there's also a bug that happens in the dungeon, or maybe a pet pulled. But I'll show you guys afterwards. So we're going to grab the Overseer, finish it off. Now, I could have grabbed this Overseer a little bit earlier, just to make sure that the mob would die at the same time as everything else, because now we're pretty much just sitting here for about 10 to 15 seconds trying to kill this one mob, which is not ideal. But now we run through. So, like I said before at the start of the dungeon, we're going to be going right this time. So, with this right side, there's not really much you need to worry about. So you interrupt the same things that you would normally interrupt. There are some tank buster mechanics, which is just, you know, use your defensives and heal yourself when you need to. Now you gotta make sure that you get your skulkers around here. You can put a flare from your hunter if you want to find the skulkers, but usually there's one up on this staircase area, and then there's one padding around this area too, which we've found both of them, which is great. Now, as you can see, my healer just came back from this side. So what's happened is, we've had woe. I'm a DK. I can pretty much live forever if I play properly. So I'm going to solo these without a healer, and I'm going to heal myself, while my healer goes through these mobs and into the marketplace to start the RP for the marketplace, because it takes about 20 to 30 seconds for the RP to finish. You don't want to be sitting there for 20 to 30 seconds while you're doing a pack. So starting it preemptively is going to save you a good amount of time during this key. So we're going to kill all these mobs, standard stuff. Let's skip through a little bit. Now we're going to pull the next set of mobs. So as soon as this one dies, we'll pull the next set of mobs, which is the 4-pack there. Same thing. The muscles, be a little careful whenever they go nice and big. They will start hitting you a little harder as a tank, so just be a little careful of that. Now there should be another skulk around here. I'm going to be looking for it. If there isn't, there should be just around this area. But I think that was the one that just spawned over here, which does the pat around this whole bottom area here. So I think we've got them all. Nope, here it is. Here he is. So he came a little bit late, so this is not ideal because now we have to sit here for about 10 to 15 seconds just single targeting one mob. We shouldn't have got Vi there. We probably should have got Woe. Woe for the speed boost just to get to the mail room quicker. Or we should have just gotten to get our cooldowns back for the mail room, because our next pull is going to be a double pull from the mail room into an LOS outside, which is quite a big pull. It doesn't do too much damage though, so should be okay. So now we're going to go over this way. So now we're just pretty much wasting Vi at the moment, because our haste buff's going to be for 35 seconds. Like, we'll have it for the pull, but I probably would have rathered everyone got their cooldowns back. I'm going to go in here, everyone's going to LOS outside, I'm going to D&D far left, and I'm going to pull with our Death Caress on the far right. Make sure everything's through. And I'm going to get Woe here. So I'm going to grab everything, pop my Dancing Rune, and then Shackle, and make sure everything is nice and close. We'll grab Woe, I'll be in charge of Woe's Interrupt. My healer gets it anyway. Healers, shamans are great at getting the interrupts, so it always alleviates a lot of pressure from us if our shaman gets the interrupts. And make sure everything's nice and stacked for this rain of fire. And while this Woe happens, we are again going to get our healer to go do the marketplace, the entirety of the marketplace while invisible with Woe. Now, the reason being is usually you'd get like a hunter or something to do it, because if they end up getting in combat, they can feign death to remove themselves out of combat. So we're going to pull over here. So again, like I said, I'm a DK. I can survive a lot of things by myself. I don't really need a healer. So I'm going to pull these 4. Now there's a Skulker here as well, so make sure you pick this up. Very essential for the route, because the route is so close or on 100% exactly. If you miss a Skulker that is hidden somewhere, you're going to have to backtrack, and that's not going to be good on time. So you want to be pulling these, get these 4 mobs. Now our healer is actually here, so our hunter did go and do this by themselves. So our hunter's going to go over there and do the marketplace while we kill these. And then our hunter will come back, finish off the pack with us, and we're going to go straight into the mail room after this. So what we've done here is we've pulled these mobs here. I'm waiting for Lust. We have 10 seconds on Lust here. So we're going to kill all these. As soon as Lust comes up, we're going to pull the boss into the overloaded mail mental, so we get the extra haste from Lust plus double stack haste from the mail mental's bubble when it dies. So I'm waiting for it to pat back. I'm going to death grip it to taunt it, most likely. Nope, I'm just going to taunt it like that. And then I'm going to get as well. We're going to pop Lust. Everything's going to be nice and controlled. And we're going to go from here. Now, this boss on a high tyrannical is not fun for the healer, let me tell you. Now, you want to be making sure those purple circles on the ground, you're soaking them in your vicinity. You don't want to go way too far to soak them, because you're not going to be having uptime on the boss. And you don't want to be... So, that was an issue there. What happened there was, we had people that didn't realize that was on the actual bubble that the mail mental dropped, if you just saw that. Now that is one, potentially my fault, purely for the fact that the slam should have probably been facing outwards, which I'll take the blame for that. But also, not all of us died, so we need to pay attention for that. That is an issue that we needed. So if someone called it out, probably would have been an easy fix, but that's just an unfortunate thing. So now we have 2 B reses up, our healer's going to Ank, and then I'm going to res our monk from here. So that was an unfortunate circumstance, but we move on. Now, unstable goods are going to drop. These are the briefcases that you need to chuck into one of the 4 trash chutes over here. Now, you find which one goes. Everyone should be picking up 1, and then there will be 6 in total. So someone else needs to pick up 2. Usually your fastest player, or if it's unfortunately in one of those pools on the ground, see that purple stuff on the ground, then your tank would most likely have to get it, because it does a lot of damage if you're in it. So once again, grab the ones that are close. Now, the issue with this is if you grab more than 1 stack, you're going to get a stacking debuff, which ticks for quite a bit. And if it coincides with fan mail, starts getting a bit interesting for the healer. As you can see, our healer is pumping the heals right now, and that hurts a lot. So as you saw, that specific ability there, which we will see later on as well. So we have a few deaths here. We have a few deaths here. I purg here. Now this is a bit crazy right now. So the boss is almost about to die. We've got fan mail going, so everyone's ticking pretty hard here. And then we're going to have that ability that we just saw called Money Order. Now, this can be negated by immunities. So, Turtle, Divine Shield, an Ice Block from a Mage, anything like that. The issue here is, we know we're going to die if we soak this with our Warlock. So I call for the Warlock to just go off to the side and take it by himself. He will obviously die. We will be able to kill the boss though. So it's unfortunate, but you want to be essentially soaking this as a group if you can. If you can immune it, make sure you do, because it prevents a lot of damage going onto the group, sorry, and alleviates a lot of pressure from the healer. Because as you can see, our healer is quite or getting close to it, and it's been quite a long fight. So our Warlock is going to die there and sacrifice himself. We're going to finish off this boss. Okay, perfect. Boss is done. We're going to go outside. Our healer is going to res both of these guys. And the marketplace is done. So now we're just going to walk over to the marketplace. So marketplace is here. You're going to each pick up an instrument on this boss. Each instrument is going to have a different way of doing things. So you're going to have an extra action button in the middle of your screen here, or wherever you put your extra action button. For me, I grab the horn. And now the horn will have the 3 markers. You just need to go into the middle because it does a circle around you, and you're going to grab all the buffs. Now you want to get all 4 sets of them, which equals 12, and that'll boost your buff from just this into a massive damage and haste increase. And healing, if I'm not mistaken. So you're going to grab the 9, and then you're going to grab the 12. Good, and now it's going to turn to an angry red face. Now, I want to make sure all of these are on me, because that security slam, if it goes on someone, is going to one-shot them. Now, the only things you need to really worry about here is the Oasis security main guy is going to do a menacing shout. That needs to be interrupted, otherwise it does a big burst of damage onto the entire group. And also, there's going to be one of these that are going to do, I'm pretty sure it's the disruptive, yep, so as you can see, the disruptive patron is going to cast something called teleport. Now, you just want to stun it, but as a DK, even if it does go off and it teleports, you can just grip it back in, so it's no big deal. So that's going to happen twice. You're going to get that, and you're going to get another set of them, and each time in between, you're going to use your extra action button and grab the symbols on the ground. Now, the differences between some of the instruments is, with the horn, it will be 3 in a triangular formation. Now, with the guitar and the other ones, it'll be a line in front of you, and you're going to have to do a kind of like a sliding motion. So you just want to be behind the 3, and make sure they're all in front of you in a line, in a straight line, and then you press the extra action button, and you'll slide across all 3 of them. Now, with the drums, it's also the same thing. It'll be a line in front of you, I'm pretty sure, and you just hit the extra action button, and then it'll do a wave in front, and it'll pick up all 3 of the symbols on the ground. So we're going to go from here. Security slam, no problems. We're going to do everything again, and now we're going to come into this position here. So right there is where we need to focus on. So here I missed one, so that was bad of me, right? So now I've only got 11 stacks. See, if you don't go to 12 stacks, you're only going to get the minor buff, not the major buff. So here's the actual boss coming along. Now there's a little tricks here to make sure that you extend your buff as long as possible. So security slam's a normal ability, menacing shout again, just like the mob from the beginning of the encounter. Now we get here. You're going to be very careful about positioning here. So for me, I can just kind of run out or use Death's Advance and just move. So if you saw that just then, when the boss was doing that ability where everyone needs to run out, he'll spawn those symbols underneath him as well, in between that channel. Now, you don't want to be going in there during the channel because you will die if you get hit by his ability because it's a long charge. You go immediately afterwards and you click your extra action button and try to grab at least one. of them underneath the boss. Now what that'll do is it'll extend your buff for another 40 seconds. So you're going to have huge uptime on this extra damage, healing, and this extra damage and healing, sorry. And it is very important to do that, because that saves a lot of time on this boss, especially if all 5 people get it. If only a few of you get it, that's fine. It's better to be safe than sorry, but if you can try to get the timings right, it does save a lot of time. This boss is pretty just tank and spank, self-explanatory. And you just obviously dodge the poisons that come along. I completely forgot about that. It's very easy to dodge, quite visual. And yeah, it's just the last thing for this boss would be crowd control. So he'll put, it's a bit hard to see for some people, but he'll put a bit of like an air wall in front of him, and in this direction, in a bit of a cone, he'll push back, and it'll do quite a lot of damage to you. On a higher key, you will die, but otherwise, just don't be in front of the boss. Always be behind the boss. That's the rule of thumb, unless you have the tank. So DPS and healer should always be behind the boss. There's no reason you would ever be in front of the boss here. Crowd control, and it'll do that. So everything else is pretty self-explanatory. So we'll finish the boss here. The boss will die. Now we just ended up in the Menagerie. So what we're going to do is walk out of here. Now this is where it starts getting good. So we've got the 92.4% enemy forces here. Essentially, all you need is the mini boss in front of the last boss, which is guarding the teleporter right here. Now I think I pull a peacekeeper in just in case, because I thought we wouldn't have enough percent, but I was wrong. So we're going to invis here. So I invis belt here. You're going to invis straight to the Menagerie, which is the second to last boss here, with the 3 bosses. So everyone's going to do the same thing. You're going to have to wait for the RP a little bit. I'm going to start the boss. So our crux here is very simple. You just want to make sure you dodge the blue puddles on the ground, pretty much. Any blue bottles he puts down, just dodge. So make sure you're running out of that. Now I'm in the middle of my rotation with my burst, so I want to keep my dancing room weapon up as much as possible. So I AMS it because I can. You're gonna get down, and now he's gonna put those orbs again. So these are the puddles that are kind of hard for some people to deal with. You want to make sure that you're right on the edge of the one that previously spawned, and immediately after that despawns, you just run into where it was. So as that despawns, you're gonna run in. Perfect, and then you just dodge that. Very simple. Move out of the blue, once again. Standard mechanics. Yada, yada, yada. Alright, so we go to the next boss. Next boss is this, which is a Bron looking like creature. Now, he's going to start spawning orbs around him. Now, there's different ways of doing this, and there's little tricks that you can learn here. So, with Flagellation, make sure you're purging it, so then you can interrupt the cast, otherwise the tank's going to get absolutely slapped. Now, hunters have a very easy way of dealing with this mechanic, which is the orbs coming out from the mob. Now, you can do this with, I'm pretty sure if hunters can do it, you can do it with any immunity class that can deal with immunities and preventing knockbacks, because the boss knocks you back every time you're too close to it when it's casting the orbs. So, for now, we have our hunter. He will, if he gets the chance, turtle underneath the boss and soak every single orb, so then the entire room is free of orbs, and he has a 20 stack buff straight away, which is very important to make sure this boss dies quickly. Because what you don't want is this boss and the next boss overlapping at the same time for too long, because both abilities from these two bosses at the same time can be devastating if it goes on for too long. Essentially what you're trying to do is get this boss to a point where you can kill him in this corner here. And what that'll do is the orbs will get stuck in this corner, and you don't have to run around the room and pick up orbs anymore. You can just run into this corner and then get immediately max stacks, which is 20 by the way, and then you can just give it to the next person. Now this buff over here, is this blue swirl around you, is the buff that you need in order to soak the orbs. If you do not have this buff, you do not soak the orbs, otherwise the orbs will give you the complete opposite. So having this buff and soaking the orbs will give you a damage boost. Without this buff and soaking the orbs will give you a damage reduction. So you don't want that. So perfect. Now you've got these two big swirls here. You're probably wondering, those are dispellable. So you want to make sure, since we have a healer and we also have a warlock, we can get both dispels on there, which is good. It means we don't have to move out too much. Now, I'm grabbing both of these. I'm telling them to stop damage on the Guardian because I don't want him dying in that area. So I'm telling people to hold damage, make sure they're running away from the whirling anima. Now I'm going to pull this into the corner. I'm going to tell them to burst the boss down, get the flagellation, and then kill him in this corner. Now I'll pull out Gold Fuse. I almost die here. I actually do. I get purged. So Gold Fuse will do a chain of domination, which is going to root a person in place. Now you want to make sure you kill that, because if the orbs go onto the person with the root, or the whirling anima, or the whirling annihilation, sorry, pulls in the person with the chain, they're going to die. If you go into that whirling annihilation, you are dead. So just make sure you're running away from it. Now the chains of damnation, make sure you get them out as soon as possible. And as you can see, our hunter has gone into the corner there to pick up all the orbs. Now he has full stacks. I don't know if I said this already, but as this swirl is going and is about to expire, it will jump to the nearest player. So you want to make sure if someone has their cooldowns ready to go or about to go up, it is better for them to be next in line to grab that buff so they can burst as much as possible. That's pretty much the fight. So now, finish off the fight. We're going to come out. We're going to invis back onto the mini-boss. Now, here's another little tip for streets. So as we're going in here, again, I'm a blood DK, I'll be able to survive by myself. We're going to get our healer to jump on the side of this and click the teleporter from the side, so then he can start the RP up the top for Zo'asmi while we pull this. Now, pretty sure I pull the Peacekeeper for some reason, because I think we don't have enough percent, but this mini-boss is plenty. You don't need the Peacekeeper, so don't worry about that. This is pretty much, don't stand in the white circles on the ground, otherwise they do a lot of damage to you, and it's not fun. And as you can see right now, a healer is on the side here. Now, he can still do his damage, because he can still see the boss, the mini-boss. But what that's going to do is that usually a link will go between a ranged player and a melee player, if you have a ranged in your group. Usually it's the healer. Now, in that sense, it'll bring them together, and if you guys hit each other, you'll have a massive damage debuff that does a lot of ticking damage, which is not fun to deal with. So you want to make sure that your healer is over here. So what that's going to happen is you don't have to move, because you won't be able to go through this bit of wall here. So you can just stand still and just keep hitting and doing damage. And being in this corner also helps, because none of these swirls will be spawning in this corner. It just doesn't work that way. So my field of vision is absolutely gone right now. So we're going to kill this boss, this mini boss. That's the mini boss pretty much. So as we're killing the mini boss, now here is the funny part. Now, I don't know if this was because a pet wasn't despawned before we went up here, and it's just another one of those pet things that happen in dungeons, but for some reason when we pull this boss, a pack from downstairs pulls up with it. As you can see, a Sparkcaster and Enforcer just popped up out of nowhere, and I call for an immediate wipe, because if I don't, we are not going to time this key. So immediate wipe, and we have to run all the way back, because either a pet pulled or it's a bug from Blizzard. I don't know what's going on. So we just come back again for round 2. Now I've already got an up, and then I call to kill a Vi, I'm pretty sure. Yep, so we get an and we get a Vi. Now this boss is quite annoying. So what's going to happen here is it's going to put an ability down, which is going to require you to use the shapes around the room to portal into where it's begun. So you want to make sure, right now, triangle and circle were safe, and triangle was closest to us on the outside, so we're going to triangle port into here. If you guys have ever done a boss in the raid called Artificer Zymox, it is the exact same strategy, except with no shapes in the raid. It's just the teleporter. So here we're going to kill Vi, because Vi is absolutely slapping people. Now Shuri's going to come out, which is the ability you need to use the portals for. I'm going to go over to Circle. Now there's not many abilities in this fight. Pretty much it's just dodging Shuri by going in. It's going to do that dash around, which will apply a short debuff to people that got hit. And then it'll do a divide every I think 30%, so 70% and 40% it'll do a divide. So it'll split the room in two. So it'll do it again and then it'll split the room into quadrants. Now this double technique, you don't want to be interrupting it immediately. What you're trying to do is have enough uptime on the boss where you can do so much damage, because the rest of the fight you're just running around trying to chase the boss around. So it's better to leave it at the last second in order to interrupt both interrupts. So you get at least 15 to 20 seconds of pure single target uptime on the boss. Now I'll play the whole fight just to show you guys just how we do it, because it does get quite hectic when the Shuris are coming out every 5 to 10 seconds and you have to constantly run around. Now we barely time this. I think we timed this with maybe a minute left. So it's not the most, it's not the cleanest run at all. We had about 10 deaths on it. But it's still, you know, it's still a 26, so it was pretty decent. It was a pretty decent shot. Hopefully we can get some bigger keys and better keys later on during the weeks. So we pop Lust here because it's finally up. Shuri's going to come along on the other side. We're going to go Triangle here because Triangle is safe on that side. Now remember, you don't want to go instantly, wait for the tank to go, because then the boss follows the tank, so then everyone else goes at the same time. If the tank takes too long, it's the tank's fault really. So it's going to divide again at that 40% mark, going into quadrants. Then we're going to wait for this long cast. Now that was a bit early. That kick was a little early. I think people got a little happy with, a little kick happy. Now wait for the last bit, and then we interrupt this second cast. Remember, it casts twice. Now for some reason, this casted again 2 seconds later. Now I don't know if it was a spell queue issue or it's something else. You never know with this game. There are always bugs with every game. So it could just be a spell queuing issue. So Shuri's going to happen again. Now this is where it starts getting annoying. Usually when it happens, when it gets into the point where the boss goes into quadrants, the boss is going to put Shuri on the most inconvenient shape. So almost 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to go through 3 shapes immediately, or wait patiently for one of the shapes on the outer ring to overlap, and you'll be able to quickly jump in there. I just like being safe and going through all 3 shapes just to get there as soon as possible. So now again, it's going to overlap. We have to go in nice and quick. That was very, very yikes. Almost didn't make that. So we had our hunter having to immune that, and then our healer accidentally got hit, unfortunately. So now we're going through again all the way to circle. Boss is at 11%. This is what I mean by letting that cast go a little bit longer, because you want that uptime. Otherwise this boss is going to take a while. So I use that lock gate to go to the next quadrant, which is perfectly placed by our warlock. Really well done there. I'm going to go all the way, and we're just going to stay here, I think, until the boss is dead. Doesn't have too much health left, so there's no point running around for the next Shuri. And with 1 minute to spare, 26 timed for the Tyran week. Not too bad. Only 3 points though, so unfortunate. Not a lot of points there, but it is what it is. So that was the right side route for a 26. Now, we're going to look at a left side route as well. This is just a 15 from a few weeks ago on my monk. So the only difference here is we're still going to pull this. This is on a Tyran week. We're still going to pull this, and we're still going to go this way. So with the left side, what we're doing now, sorry, let's make sure we get this. We're going to woe through, and now we're going left. So we're going to jump off this cliff here, because you don't need to, or this ledge here, so you don't need to go all the way around down the stairs or anything. So everyone jumps off, and now we're going to encounter this single mob called Tracker Zo'cross. Or Zo'cors, sorry. So what he's going to do is root the tank after he's put this circle around everyone. So you need to stay in this circle, otherwise you just get yoinked back in. Now he's going to put those beams that you saw in the beginning of the dungeon down. You just have to make sure you're moving out. And the tank is not rooted in the middle of it. Now we do have quaking for that week, so it's a little annoying. You have to move around as well. So you're just going to bait them and keep on moving. Remove the root there. And yep, so that's a very easy boss. Now the reason why most people go right side now as well is what I said at the beginning of the video was we usually have a lot of AoE, and having a warlock and a hunter in a group, they're gonna want AoE. They're not that good at single target, and they will benefit more from having more mobs. So doing the right side will significantly just push the key faster. with those kinds of classes in your group. If you have a lot of single target, by all means, go on the left side. But I prefer the right side, to be honest, after the nerfs. It doesn't really feel as bad on a tank. Because this pull right now, even though it's a 15, this pull next is the one that's a little scary, and the one afterwards. It does hurt quite a bit on a fortified. So right now it's still at a Tyrant, so it's okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull these two Ancient Corehounds, and you're going to pull this Dinosaur together. Now, the small things you can do here, they're going to cast two abilities, these Corehounds. They're going to cast Ancient Dread, which is a massive haste debuff if it goes off. That needs to be interrupted. And they're also going to cast a Lava Breath. Now, the Lava Breath is a cone in front of the mob, so it'll be facing towards where the tank is. You just want to make sure it's not facing the rest of the group. And you can pretty easily tank the Lava Breath, but it does still hurt a little bit, so you might as well interrupt it. Now, the Direhorn's going to do a tail swipe and a frontal as well. So you want to make sure you're on the side of the mob. So make sure the positioning is quite good. And you want to put all three of these together, because just doing them separately is just not good for time. There's not really any point of doing it. Now also the Direhorn's going to do a charge. And it charges the ranged player most of the time. Now, unfortunately it didn't charge the ranged player then, but most of the time it will. And what you want to do is have your ranged players. Right now we have a Warlock and we have a Shaman as a healer. So we have our Shaman now cause the Warlock to come along a little closer. As you can see, the charge is on the Shaman, but it didn't do anything. Because this point will negate the charge. It'll just cast the charge and it won't do anything anymore. So that's a little trick for you guys as ranged players. You can just stand up there and make life easier. Now the Night Claws. These are the only different part. Those three pulls, sorry, the only different part on the left side, mob-wise. So these Night Claws, they're jumping mobs. So with all jumping mobs, you want everyone to be in melee range, so they don't jump. If they are not in melee range, they will jump on them and do extra damage, and they will most likely die. So hopefully everyone listens here and they all come through. So they're all in melee range now. The Warlock's a little bit out, so as you can see, it jumped onto the Warlock and it stunned the Warlock. So now we call the Warlock to come in a little bit more. So now everything's nice and grouped, nothing's jumping. Now the issue with this week is obviously quaking as well, so it's a little annoying, but we get through it. We get woe, so we can go to the next boss nice and quick. And that is the left side. So that is all you need to know for the left and right side, guys. I hope this video was informative. I know it was quite long. I'm going to be putting timestamps throughout the video, so you guys can just click through and see which part you need to study up on, and to make your runs a lot smoother than they are. But thank you very much for watching the video. I really appreciate it. It is my first video, so if I do seem to talk a bit much than I should, or just say gibberish, I'm sorry. I will get better over time. But please like the video, comment down below if you want more videos, or what type of videos you have. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me in the comments, or come to my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/triplebs, and I will be more than happy to answer anyone's questions. Till next time, guys, next video should be Gambit, and I will let you guys know when I'll be uploading that on my socials. Everything will be down in the description. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Peace out. Have a great day, and till next time.